What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show bringing you all the action from the Premier League and Serie A, England and Italy. I am your host, Matt, joined by my co-host, Dom. Dom, how are you?
Good, man. Good. You know, feeling the pressure, as they say, when you got a major life-changing event in the forthcoming. It's my last podcast as an unmarried man.
Yeah, the old ball and chain as
that's kind of toxic. I don't know if you say that.
We may
get canceled if we say that.
One of my absolute least favorite things is telling usually older white guys, honestly, that I'm married. They're like still happy. Yeah, dude. I don't know. Like weird. I didn't. I don't know. I actually respect my wife. It's weird situation. I thought you were going to mention Atalanta play AC Milan this weekend. That's a pretty big game. I thought that's what we were talking about that you were nervous for.
Yeah, that too probably, but you know, I mean,
pales in comparison.
They've played some provincial teams recently, so they've strung together a couple wins. But yeah, there's some drama surrounding the club right now. So
well, hopefully
we'll talk about it.
No drama this weekend, Dom, because I am very excited for your wedding this weekend. It is your last show as an unmarried man. I mean, let's be real. Like, you're by all means married. You just haven't signed a paper yet. So yeah,
we bought a house a couple years ago, so we kind of signed the deed already.
There's a commitment there, as it is. Let's start in Italy, where it was kind of a wild weekend in general in both England and Italy. England more so, and we had some more wild games the last 2 days because we're in like that festive period now. Like this is where it really starts to. The games are like every 4 days. You got something going on. Juventus needed a late goal to win against Monza. Adrien Rabiot continues just impress. He gets the opening goal for Juventus. Vlahovic had missed a penalty, but yeah, it's a late goal that gets them all 3 points to keep pace at the top of the table, and just kind of continues their streak now of finding weird ways, such a Juventus way to win a game off of a pretty sloppy, mishit, and then doubles back, gets the goal. That's how we started our weekend in Italy. And any thoughts on Juventus so far this season, or I feel like there's never really much new to say about them. There's just a lot of the same consistent thoughts.
Well, it's Allegri ball, right? So it's never any big switch ups, big exciting changes happening. What stands out to me is that we talked last week about these games that are like a tale of two halves, and that's kind of what this was. Like in the first half, like Monza has like some momentum for an extended period of time, maybe like 20 minutes, but like that whole first half is Juventus, and then Monza kind of keep the pressure on. You don't really see Juventus or really any Allegri team kind of sit back and have to play counterattack, sacrifice, holding possession for the majority of the game. Maybe it has to do with the lineup that they put out, considering, they have some younger guys getting looks right now. And some of the mainstay bigger names came in as subs. But I mean, when you're only holding 34% possession, but you still have more shots on target, you have more big chances, it's just, you have this team playing really good and like efficient, because, they're able to still squeak out wins. Monza's no slouch, but, to be able to, still hold second place playing the way they are with a team where, people do have questions about some of the, player selection and, some of these players on the team that are actually more impact players than people want to admit. But I mean, I hate saying it, but they're back. I don't think they've ever really left. They're kind of they're playing with a chip on their shoulder this season, given all the penalties they had last year, and a lot of the fans online have always been saying that, like, look, like we would have been we would have been playing in Europe, like this and that, if it wasn't for the deduction and whatnot. And this season's kind of proving that.
Yeah, if it wasn't for our economic fraud, we would.
Yeah. If it wasn't for the people who pay me my salary, or if it wasn't for the people running the team that I love, doing some illegal shady shit like they always do.
Yeah, well, I think that might just be a general rich person things, kind of issue. Duvan Zapata, 2 past Atalanta on Monday night. His return against the Bergamo club. It was at home, but you understand my deal. 3-0 win. Atalanta, we talked about them at the very top of the show. They play Milan this weekend, but I thought they've really not been impressive this season. And especially, the kind of defensive issues that have kind of been commonplace in a time. It's not as bad as maybe it's been in other years, but really the goal scoring has not been there. It's just been a weird year for them so far. I don't know that Gasperini is gonna be someone that loses his job, but I wonder if we're seeing kind of the end of this phase of this Atalanta, and we're gonna have a real transition point. Whether that means a managerial change, I don't know, but I don't know. They feel a little directionless for me right now, Atalanta.
There's some guys on that Torino team that I really like and makes this lineup stand out a little bit more to me than Atalanta. It's kind of weird seeing, De Roon play this sort of center back position in a back three as well. Not to say that Atalanta doesn't have some good guys on their team, but Vlasic was a hot commodity, for a lot of Serie A clubs, top table Serie A clubs, and then he ends up signing for Torino. He's like their talisman, basically. Getting Duvan Zapata is big for them. Zapata getting a brace against his former club. You always love to see that. These two teams are with this win for Torino brings them within 1 point of Atalanta, which could shoot them up 2 places in the table. They're so close together on the table. Very even matchup, but Torino playing a lot better ball. Back and forth game about equal possession, even almost on total shots and shots on target and all that kind of stuff. So Atalanta just, questions need to be asked about, how efficient they can be in front of goal. Because if they're getting these chances, but they can't convert theirs and make this like a 3-2 or a 2-2 kind of game, this could be a totally different story if they convert some chances.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great thing to point out. And I like too that you point out these two teams now kind of close. Torino over the last few years have kind of struggled, been more like a bottom half team, rather than like a more stable middle, mid-table club than we've kind of been used to. They're flirt with relegation for a few years too. So nice to see them kind of rebounding like this. And I think it goes to show too, Zapata, it felt like just wasn't finding the right form. He's not been amazing this year for Torino, but it is an interesting thing to see him. This is a guy that's putting on a clinic at Atalanta for 2-3 seasons, and can still find that good goal scoring. I will say his second goal was a little bit favorable. It was a little bit of luck involved, but there's luck in everything. So what can you do? Elsewhere, Inter topped Napoli and remained in first place. Just another professional display by Inter. And this was more the worry for Napoli, when they signed Mazzari, and it just felt like, without even making it a Mazzari thing, I just think in general, there's maybe this is a team that didn't quite get the squad replenishment that maybe it needed. I think they could have done with an additional, signing or two this summer that they just didn't get. And you kind of have to do that with title-winning teams. I think you have to be willing to kind of push the envelope a little bit and bring in some fresh blood. And, obviously they had some big departures as well, which, doesn't help. I think definitely a team that's missing someone like Kim Min-jae and how good he was last year. But, I think this game is probably ultimately more about Inter and the fact that just yet again, just passing tests and just, I find it very hard to really question their credentials as title winners at this stage of the season. I think this is a team, obviously Juventus is keeping pace with them, but I watch Inter and I watch Juventus, and I just feel that I'm watching two teams get results for sure, but Inter, it feels much more over the course of the season. This is a team that's going to consistently get 3 points week on week.
Yeah. You mentioned Napoli, with some big missing pieces, whether they left on transfer or left because the Italian national team needed a new coach. But I also think, a couple injuries, players working themselves back from being hurt, like Peter Zielinski. I think he's a major part in that midfield three. Almas is not a starter for Napoli. And if I'm looking at this momentum chart, when Zielinski comes in the 75th minute, yes, Inter score a goal, but that's on the only, within like 2 minutes that they had, some momentum and possession on their side. The rest was all Napoli. It shows the impact that Zielinski has on the team and the way that they play. I do think now, before I ask my question, actually, Inter, they have this whole mindset, right? They have this, it's not the individual, it's the team. I'm always playing for. They have it like in their locker room. I forget the actual saying, but it's like basically talking about like, I don't play for myself. I play for this badge. I play for this team. I play for this city type deal. And all the players are really buying into it. Aside from, your talisman, like bigger name pieces, a lot of these guys, benefit from the system that's in place, like a Thuram. This guy comes in as a piece that Inzaghi wants for this lineup, and you can see, the impact he's had. I mean, he's scoring goals left and right for them. He's playing very, very well for them. That midfield three that they have out of the five is one of the best in the league. They're always so consistent. Shahanoglu has found the back of the net a few times.
His goal, by the way, oh my God!
He always has a knack for like scoring these highlight goals, like because he has such a powerful hit, man. It's
one of those ones when you see it in the slow mo cam too, the way the ball moves.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I remember Thiago scored one for Liverpool a few years ago in the Champions League against Porto, where the ball kind of curves like towards the ground and then just starts to rise into the. It's just very aesthetically pleasing.
Those kind of pinged hits, right? Like it's.
The ball moves unnaturally. It moves in a way that you don't expect it to because it's just, I don't know. It's being hit by someone that is just really hit it perfectly.
When you also look at the team depth, that like some of the quality of players that Inter brings off the bench, like a Quadrado, Carlos Augusto, Marco Arnautovic, like these are guys like even Frattesi off the bench, like these are guys that can just keep the system rolling at like full efficiency. It's crazy. What I do want to ask is, do you think in this second season for Napoli now teams are starting to kind of figure out how to play Kvaratskhelia and kind of hinder his impact? Because to me, it seems like Osimhen finds a lot of that space to work and benefits from the threat that Kvaratskhelia brings. And now teams are kind of game planning on stopping the wing play in order to reduce the amount of chances that Osimhen will see during the game.
Yeah, I think we saw this last year with Kvaratskhelia too in a few matches. Especially, I remember an Inter game where they gave him kind of the Messi treatment, which is you make like a square and just you kind of put him in prison. And he's not reacted well to that this year. I think you did start to see, even in like high-level games last year, Napoli, second half of the season, they were still beating the teams you had to beat to ultimately, walk to the title. But we saw it in kind of the higher-profile games in Serie A, struggling a little bit more. And we saw it in the Champions League, too. We saw them. Part of that was their own making. They didn't convert chances in the same way. I didn't think they were outplayed in those Champions League games they get knocked out of. But yeah, I think there were signs last year. And again, you have a managerial change. That does not help either. Spalletti not being here to kind of have a second season. But, I think I wouldn't say it's a crisis at Napoli. It's just it's a disappointing follow-up season. But we've also seen this in Italy the last few years where we have, a title winner in the next year. It's not just like they don't defend their title. It's disappointing. It's a bad season, especially comparatively. It's always going to be a bad year when you get like, a walk to the title and you have 90 plus points. That's always going to it's always going to be a letdown the next year. But this, I think, is disappointing. And yeah, you haven't had that same output either, which is, I think, frustrating.
What's definitely frustrating for Napoli fans is that they haven't won at home in their last 5 or 6 games. I think that this is the 6th game. I could be wrong about that, but I just saw a little stat. I didn't know if it included this one or not, but Napoli haven't won at home in at least their last 5 home games, which is quite concerning. I mean, this is something that like Milan was dealing with, but in the other way, right? They played so well at home. I think they were like ranked 1 or 2 in the league, in their home record, but away they were abysmal. And it almost cost them winning the league. Napoli ranked number 1 away from home this year, but at home, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's the Scudetto curse or whatever it may be, but quite concerning, playing at home with such a heavy and passionate fan base. To not give them, a win in such a long time, it's going to build up some agitation with the ultras. I mean, we've already seen it sometimes, right? They've already been posting messages and signs around the stadium for the players to see and stuff like that. And in a town like Napoli, it can get pretty serious pretty quick.
Yeah, 2 wins, draw, and 4 losses at home this year. It's in the bottom third of the table. They're around Salernitana, Hellas Verona, Udinese, and Empoli. Those are the only other teams with a worse, and those are just some of the worst teams in Serie A this season. So it's not been good at all for them. Speaking of teams at the bottom of the table, this was a crazy game. Udinese, Hellas Verona. Just wanted to mention it because Hellas Verona, I was disappointed because they goosed me in our fantasy draft last 2 weeks. A draw and a draw. That's 2 times, I guess 2 times 0-0, but it is double. It is 200% better than what they were giving me before. This is a wild game, kind of back and forth. Ends up, it felt like Udinese were going to get a win, and then Hellas Verona. There's a bike in this game. Like there was a lot here, so I just wanted to give Hellas Verona some credit for showing a little bit of fight and trying to make it out of the basement in Serie A so far. And they have, they've crawled now to 18th. Udinese only 2 points ahead with 12. The bottom of Italy right now is kind of similar in England too, where there's 5, maybe 6 teams, realistically more just 5 in Italy that could get relegated this year. You've got Udinese, Empoli, Hellas Verona, Cagliari, and Salernitana. Salernitana have been really bad. It would take something pretty impressive, although they've done that before. But it would take something really impressive for them to make it out of it. But Hellas Verona, despite the bad starts of the year, are only 2 points, really a point off of safety, but 2 points off of Udinese.
Yeah, I mean, Genoa and Sassuolo can't be too safe, right? They have like a 2-week window where they need to kind of get a few points so that they can continue to stay from dropping into that danger bubble.
I trust them a little more, I think, is my feeling.
Yeah,
I trust them a little more than some of these other teams. Like Empoli, I don't know what I'm getting week on week.
I think that 16, 17, and 18, Udinese, Empoli, and Hellas Verona all can give you that, right? You have no clue what these teams are going to give you week in and week out. 1 week like this, they're scoring all the goals, and then next week they're getting shelled, and there's only 2 teams, Cagliari and Salernitana, that are kind of like, all right, they're most likely going to lose. They'll squeak a win out here or there and surprise everybody, but they're never going to have the consistency. These teams are a little more consistent, but yeah, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Well, let's move to England, shall we, where we had a crazy weekend. And like I said, we have the start of the festive fixtures where you have the midweek games as well. We had some juicy action today and yesterday. Got to start with Liverpool's comeback against Fulham to win 4-3. I don't know. If we didn't have Alexander Garnacho's goal the other week, I would say that the goal of the season probably comes from this game. Just pick one of the Liverpool goals. Although Alexander-Arnold's free kick went down as an own goal, which sucks. But McAllister's first goal was amazing. Endo's goal was great. Even Trent's was great.
It went down as an own goal. It's credited where I'm looking to Trent.
Though his first it went off of like the back.
Oh, the first one. Okay.
The second one was great. The first goes off the back of Leno, which sucks. But Liverpool 3-2 down in the 80th minute and have a quick turnaround 87th and 88th minute, get the win. This turns pivotal because the same day, Spurs and City, we highlighted this last week and have talked about this for whatever reason, this game has just given us tons of drama, tons of goals, tons of excitement over the last few years. And it also delivered on another kind of constant, a constant promise in this game, which is that when you look at the expected goals after, it's always City. I think it was like 3.06 in this game to Tottenham's 0.56. That is the way this has gone. I think City has outscored them. I don't have it in front of me, but I think City's outscored them on XG like 28-2 over the last like 5 games, and I don't think City's won more than one of them. Like it just.
I got it for this game. It was 2.57 for City and 0.46 for Spurs.
Yeah. So, and it was a 3-3 draw. So,
Yep.
Dude,
This is one of those. This is one of those ones where, you're playing a video game and you're like, nah, this can't happen. I have double their shots. I have all the chances, dude. What the heck? Like I handled this game. How'd they get let back in? But like, Son, the what's it called? The Manchester City killer.
Yeah, he really is. Honestly.
He just always seems to find the back of the net against him.
He's had a much better season this year as well. Last year really struggled for him. Worried about him like falling off a cliff last year, because it just like really was not producing in any meaningful way. Much better this season. I think physically too, maybe there was something there. But the reason it was important is because Liverpool come back to win, City lose points. City, one of the other teams, obviously we expect to be fighting in and around the title.
Fourth.
The day before, Arsenal have a dramatic win against Wolves. It was only dramatic because late stages of the game felt like Wolves maybe could have gotten a draw there, but they don't. Then Arsenal play Luton. That game turns crazy. And
that's a crazy scoreline.
A late stoppage time winner. Arsenal have made a habit of that last year, especially. I think around this time last year was that Reece Nelson one. Do you remember that? Like where they turned it around against Fulham, I want to say.
The one where he hits that one from outside the box.
Yeah. It was like he had played like 23 minutes and had he's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten Reece Nelson was actually at Arsenal still. I thought he was out loaned somewhere. So Arsenal with some late drama to go top of the table on Saturday and again yesterday. And then today, Dom, we have Liverpool win a pretty comprehensive victory, all things considered. But Aston Villa beat Manchester City 2-0. I'm not exaggerating when I say this.
Wait, 2? I'm seeing 1.
Oh, I was thinking the Liverpool game. I'm sorry. Maybe in my mind I wanted it to be 2. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I've watched, like, outside of Liverpool, City are the other team that I've watched the most over the last several years for very obvious reasons. Because I'm always watching them because I want them to lose because it's usually been a title race. But I've never seen a team dominate City that way. I have never ever seen a team just completely suffocate them, and it was the worst performance I've ever seen from City. Even like in some of their really bad Champions League dropouts, I genuinely think this might have been the worst Pep City team performance I've ever viewed.
It's tough when Rodri and Grealish are suspended, De Bruyne's hurt, Doku's hurt.
Oh, like come on.
Kovacic, Nunez are coming off of their injuries.
Well, listen, here's the thing.
You're playing John Stones in the midfield.
Well, John Stones has been playing in the midfield. That's like they brought John Stones back like they were happy.
They played 4 center backs,
which is something they've been doing. Listen, in domestic. This is from Ryan O'Hanlon. In domestic play in the Champions League since 2010, a Pep Guardiola team had never attempted fewer than 5 shots in a match. Since the start of October, it's happened twice. 4 against Arsenal, 2 today against Aston Villa. They were outshot 22-2 today against Aston Villa. City does that to teams. Teams do not do that to City. I will say, when we talked about City this year, I'm not making any big proclamations. This is all stuff that we've said. It's something that we felt. Is they have had a softer underbelly than we're used to having with them, and it is hard. It is hard when you win a treble. We see this all the time. It's always hard the year after winning big. And that's what's been so impressive about City in their run is that they have been able to find that edge, and they very well still could. I've seen this movie a bunch of times. We could certainly be sitting here in March after they've won 8 straight and be like, yeah, well, what are you going to do? But, it is a concern that you have a trend like that, right? That since the start of October, they have 2 of these games that's just so out of the norm. It doesn't help that those are against 2 of the best teams in England, right? Aston Villa playing very well, and Arsenal could very well win the title this year. It's not that crazy. But yeah, I just think it's something to think about for City now. For Aston Villa, what a performance, honestly. As
They're at home.
Their home form is impressive. They're a scary team. I think this is you talk about like statement wins, right? You talk about like a game that you're going to remember for a long time, especially if you're a Villa fan. Like it's a massive win. I hope they enjoy it. They can't enjoy it too long because Dom, I don't know if you've looked at the schedule for this weekend. I know you've got other things going on. I heard this weekend. Aston Villa Arsenal this weekend.
Whew.
So we could.
Ooh, man.
We could have quite the weekend here because Aston Villa could pull within a point of Arsenal at the top of the table.
Yeah, this is a crazy table right now. If you were to tell me this point last year that next season City's going to be underneath Aston Villa, I probably would laugh. But
I mean, when you consider how good Aston Villa were playing under Emery and kind of the stretch run that they went on, maybe not too crazy, but I do think, man, it's wild to me. It was a really wild performance. I had Manchester United Chelsea on another screen, and I didn't really get to watch them because I was just like so enthralled with what I was watching between Villa and Manchester City, and just what an insane performance it was from Villa. I wonder emotionally this weekend if there's a little bit of come down from this, but who knows? But it's such a massive win that maybe you kind of lose a little bit of that edge, but it's just an insane performance from them.
Maybe there's some questions that can be asked of Arsenal, given the fact that they've kind of been letting in quite a few goals. 3 to Luton is not ideal. They let Wolves kind of get a late one and kind of have some chance in a game that was basically all Arsenal. So maybe some questions can be asked there. In a game like what will be on Saturday, they have to be on their top. They have to be playing their best because a team like Villa, who's home? Is that Aston Villa at home?
Yeah, it's
yeah. So you're playing at Villa Park. It's going to be a very, very tough game. So they have to bring their A game, and if they don't, you can see Villa very close to top of the table.
Yeah. Just want to mention this as well. Speaking on Liverpool, so a lot of noise was made about Trent kind of switching more to midfield last year. That was a big pivot point in Liverpool's season, and since that switch, it was 25 games ago that we started to see in game. He's not really starting in the midfield, but in game kind of playing a lot more in the midfield at times and rotating out. 25 games played. Liverpool have 17 wins, 7 draws, 1 loss in that time. They've scored 61 goals and let in 28. They've accumulated 58 points. That is the best record in the league since that point. Second best is Manchester City with 55, Aston Villa with 52, and Arsenal with 51. It's from Base Tuned Red on Twitter. So just goes to show too, Liverpool. Listen, I've had my concerns midfield and defensively, and you saw it especially against Fulham. Part of that too is Alisson's out injured, but this team is also you have 3, I think, impressive teams, albeit with some weaknesses. I actually think Arsenal's the one probably with the least amount of weaknesses. Although goalkeeping is a question mark with Arsenal, I would say that it necessarily isn't because Ederson played out of his mind today. Without him, it's probably 3 or 4-0 to Villa today. You kind of have this weird rotation between Ramsdale and Raya, which I just don't know that I buy that kind of method. But it's rare that we get a 3-team race.
Mm-hmm.
But it's honestly hard for me to say that one of these teams is going to be way off of it. I think one of these teams could be 7 points behind, right, rather than 2 or 3 in April. I think that's possible, but I find it very hard to believe that one of these teams is going to be 10 points behind Yeah,
I honestly think it's 5 or less. I think every team is going to kind of stay.
which I would hate, by
close
the
by.
way. It was
Well,
bad
yeah,
enough-
obviously you would hate it.
It was bad enough with the title race against City. I don't know that I could do it against. I don't know that I have the stomach for that. Genuinely, like I think that might really tear me up inside. I don't know that I can handle it.
That's funny.
What's that? What's that UK rapper? The like funny rapper is like, I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man. Like, it's,
That's a UK comedian, Michael Dappa.
yeah, because he was
That's his alter ego.
That's quick maths.
Big Shaq.
Big Shaq, yeah. Absolutely.
The gun goes scrap.
Drill rap. So Paul Higginbottom, manager of Sheffield United. What did I just say?
Sheffield
Manager of
United.
Sheffield United. Yeah, why did I say it like that? I hate that I said it like that. Was fired. Today we had Chris Wilder in charge for the Liverpool game. Did no new manager bounce there, unfortunately. He was the first manager that we lost. So they got beat by Burnley 5-0 over the weekend. When you get beat by the team that's also like the bottom of the table with you 5-0, like it was actually the joint biggest win a team starting off the day at the bottom of the Premier League table has ever had. Which, I mean, makes sense. Like, how many teams that are at the bottom of the table are winning 5-0? You know, like, it's just not very common.
I'm looking at the FUTMob team of the week for round 14. Dude, there's 3 Burnley players in it.
Deservedly so. I mean, it turned into, like, just an absolute just absolute debauchery mode. Today, Nottingham Forest lose 5-0 to Fulham, who Fulham have started to figure out some of that offensive end, which was a concern for them. I think Fulham's probably going to be okay. Steve Cooper, maybe not going to be okay. I think there's been a ton of rumors about him this year, even last year. I think there's a lot of speculation. You know, they went on a big spending spree and all this. You know, they're only 6 points clear of the relegation zone. And that's with Everton as they are. You know, we expect there's going to be an appeal from Everton that might get some points back. Who knows? But, I mean, they're only 4 points above Luton. The story with Luton coming into the year, by the way, too, is this is potentially one of the worst Premier League teams ever. You know, like, it hasn't turned out necessarily that way. It's actually been Sheffield United, and it turns out when you sell, like, 2 of your best players, not going to be great. But, you know, the story coming into the year was that Luton was going to be a really terrible team, and they're likely to go straight back down. Nottingham Forest they're not doing a whole lot better at this time, and I think so I do wonder if next time we chat on this pod, if Steve Cooper is looking for a new job.
I mean, Forest has some quality players, at least in their starting lineup, and they need a coach that can get the most out of them. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they see him go. I think that for as low as they are on the table right now, they should be closer, you know, in points to a Fulham or Wolves or something like that. That's kind of where they want to be, right? They want to have 17, 18 points right now. And they can definitely get it. They just, you know, have to find a manager that can put in the right system to get the most out of them. I mean, you talk about Fulham finding their way. They will. I think Forest will do the same thing. It's just managerial change may be needed.
I think the big concern is Taiwo Awoniyi is injured. He's out for like another few months still. And he was kind of the only like attacking threat. They still had Brennan Johnson over the summer. He was one of the other, you know, kind of attacking threats that they had last year. So like chance creation is just really not there. You have Morgan Gibbs-White, and that's kind of it. Chris Wood is just not. He's not built for this.
I don't like that they're using Nico Dominguez as like a number 10. He's really more of like an 8.
Yeah, they're like
it's weird.
They have they got your boy Hudson-Odoi playing big time minutes. They have a
My boy
starting. I will never forget this. We did a draft of all the teams, and you. I mean, in your defense, I also picked Dwight McNeil in that draft. However, he did score a great goal over the weekend, so I feel a little vindicated by it. Dwight McNeil has like 3 Premier League goals in like the last 6 years. So, you know, I think we'll call it a wash. But yeah, Nottingham Forest. I would just be concerned about them because I think it's not just Steve Cooper. I do think that maybe this is a team. There is some names there, but I think it's names. if you know what I mean. It's
Yeah,
names, not necessarily like a lot of production. I think there's some pieces there, but like I love Origi. Origi's not a good striker. He just isn't.
That's you can say the same thing about like Alanga. Like people have like this affinity to him. People know Ibrahim Sangare more probably from FIFA than from actually watching him play soccer. So it's like you said, there's names. What are you gonna do with those names?
Yeah, that's a great question. What are you gonna do with those names? I can tell you what we're gonna look ahead to the weekend. We already talked about one of the games this weekend, which is Arsenal against Aston Villa. That's 12:30 on Saturday. Tomorrow we still have, or a few days ago, whenever you're listening to this, Thursday you got Spurs and West Ham. That's always fun. Everton, Newcastle. Newcastle coming off a big win against Manchester United. And then looking forward to the rest of the Premier League weekend. We have Spurs and Newcastle on Sunday. That's pretty nice. The Frank Lampard Memorial Derby, Everton and Chelsea on Sunday morning. Frank Lampard still very much alive, but dead in some ways, Although I'll say, if Nottingham Forest fire Steve Cooper, it would be very Nottingham Forest. It'd be very glitz and kind of like high-profile name of them to get Frank Lampard. I think that would actually be really funny. But I don't really have any negative feeling towards Nottingham Forest, and I think getting Frank Lampard as your coach has to kind of feel like getting some kind of very bad medical diagnosis. It's like, man, that's tough. I think you're strong though. You're a fighter though. You can make it through this. That kind of thing.
You got the lamps. Oh, damn. God. Anyway, I can.
Yeah, you've got the lamps. I'm sorry. You have the lamps.
Oh God, Doc, is there any way I can get out of this? No.
Can you describe your symptoms? I don't know. I've been making late runs into the box. I've been.
It's like in SpongeBob when he found out he has the suds.
Yeah, some freaky shit going on.
Or he caught the ugly.
Well,
I'm ugly. We've got Lampard. No.
He really is. He is like the fucking disgusting Sunday that he eats the ketchup onion Sunday. God.
Hi.
Frank Lampard is catching strays. He deserves it. Friday in Italy. Juventus playing Friday night again, and they have Napoli. That's a good one. That's you throw back to over the last few years. This has been an exciting game. Doesn't quite have the edge maybe that it used to. Now that some key members, some Higuains are no longer involved, but
Higuain Memorial Derby.
Yeah, I mean honestly, if you really think about it, Atalanta and AC Milan on Saturday. That's a good one, and Roma Fiorentina. That's also good. Two teams that just love to get in their own way. By the way, we mentioned Higuain. It reminded me of a story that I saw this week. Luis Suarez talking about all the recovery that he has to do and how he wakes up every day in pain, and he has to take all these, like the day before games leading up, he has to take all these pills and he has to get a shot just to play. And I was like, brother, just hang it up. Like, you have nothing left to prove. Like, you're playing in South America now and you're coming to Inter Miami next year. Just don't.
Take a season off.
No, just retire, dude. You have nothing left. You've done it all. You're the best non-Ronaldo Messi player of the decade. Like, you're good. It's over. Who's better? Who had a better? Who had a better?
You're talking about championships.
Name it.
I'm talking about pure skill on the ball. Ibrahimovic, come on now.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Dog, what? That's crazy.
You can go. You're not. Come on. Come on. Listen, he was up there. I'm not just
do it without talking about trophies. Do it without talking about trophies.
Sure. I've never in my life, because he didn't win a trophy for Liverpool in 13-14, I've never seen an individual season from like that from a player that wasn't Ronaldo or Messi. I've never seen that. Never.
All right.
He was a one-man offensive output. Ibra was great. I'm not denying that. But you are not talking me down this hill. Outside of Ibra, who would you say? Who would you say?
No one. I would say Suarez.
I'd say maybe Lewandowski.
I think that he's like right below both of them.
Yeah, he's not as he doesn't have the flair that either one of them. But Suarez, I just give it up, man.
It's a sneaky flair for Lewandowski.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
Ibra
he's not doing a 45-yard
I
bicycle
mean, Ibra
kick
is like
or
the same size as Lewandowski,
taekwondo.
yet has like that insane touch and like close control. And Suarez like just voracious. Like one of my favorite quotes about him is he could nutmeg a mermaid. You know, he really could. He's just an unbelievable player. Terrible in some ways too. He does terrible things.
He'll bite their shoulders off too.
Yeah. Right.
Bite their shoulders off and call them a slur, but you know.
Right. So, my advice is him to just retire. Don't do the fucking MLS thing, dude. If your knees are in that much shocking pain, don't come here and play on turf, brother.
What are you talking about, dude? Inter Miami's just trying to be a sideshow for the MLS for Barcelona Light. Like that's what they're trying to be. Like, come watch the former Barcelona championship team. Next thing you know, like Neymar's gonna move because he's getting injured in Saudi Arabia so much.
Well, he's got his ACL.
Yeah, he's gonna move to Inter. Watch, he's gonna go to Miami, and then like next thing you know, Iniesta's still playing soccer. Like
I could see Neymar in LA. I don't think he would. I think he would want to do like the big Hollywood thing. He's more Hollywood than Miami in my eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, he needs to go somewhere that has some nicer weather. I was gonna say like New York,
Philly. Oh,
no. I was gonna say like you got the lights, the cameras. It's New York, right? But it's too cold. Yeah, Neymar's too skinny for New York cold.
Yeah, he would. Although I would love to watch Neymar eat a chopped cheese. That would be.
He end up on the Aki ways TikTok.
No, like who's
he
the Spider-Man?
He comes through like, yo.
What's the Spider-Man? The guy, the New York Spider-Man, talking to people, or he's outside like the Knicks game.
No, next thing you know, you'll see what's it called? Side talk. A side talk video on Instagram. Bing bong. Yo, we're here with Neymar.
They have him doing the "fuck Trae Young" chant. Like,
what are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, Neymar and Tim's. Yeah. Maybe he needs to start wearing Tim's, dude. He needs the ankle protection. Like
just hit up Lukaku. You can get a couple pairs from him.
Yeah, well, Lukaku, whatever he's wearing, feels like Tim's because the man is block feet like I've never seen in my life. I just want to bring that up because it's like, man, you just watch these guys. Like, I remember Batistuta said, like, he had really bad ankle problems. And, like, he, at one point was, like, asking to have his, like, foot amputated. Like, he was, like, I think it's better now. But, yeah. Like, Gerard, I know, has said, like, he is in, like, incredible amounts of pain still and, like, has all these issues. And it's, like, you don't really think about it. But it's, like, yeah, these guys give, like, maybe 8 to 10 years of their life. And then it's, like, are just, like, destroyed physically. And I don't know. I guess that's the price. I don't know, but hope he retires. I hope he just stops, dude. Since he can't even play like 5-a-side, like like he won't even be able to like just play with his friends. It's like that just, I don't know. What was it all worth it? Probably, but I don't know. It's just it sucks. That's what playing through injuries that you definitely should have sat out for ultimately leads to after your career. But
he won't be able to do one of those videos. Have you seen these videos on YouTube? They are what's it called? I forget what the title is called, but it's this series by this video creator, and he gets in touch with like a former, like, I wouldn't want to say super big name, but I would say like a B tier or a C tier superstar, and kind of puts them in a disguise and brings them to like a 7-a-side, like,
it's Uncle Drew.
Essentially, that's essentially like what it is. And then like they go through like something to like bring them off the field, and then they come back on and they're themselves, and all the players are like, what the fuck? Like there was this one he was in England, and they had Berbatov like act as like an Uber driver. And like,
which he by the way looks. I've had an Uber driver that looks like Dimitar Berbatov.
So he drives the creator to the game, and like he signed up to play, and like he rolls his ankle. And it's like, my Uber driver can step in for me. So he comes in and he's like taking the piss, like fucking up chances and stuff like that, and then like all of a sudden, like he just plays this crazy pass, and then he has a crazy touch and
You know what's
takes on like
funny?
2 guys, and then he's like, I need a break. I need to use the bathroom. Comes back in, and he's like, all right, boys, let's go. And they're like, that's fucking Berbatov.
You know what's hilarious about that is I bet you Berbatov is in the same shape he is now than when he played. Like I
Sure.
care,
Yeah.
I bet you physically he looks no different because he never looked like he was in good shape. Speaking of ex-players, I saw this clip today. I didn't even know if we are gonna like find a way to bring it up, but here it is. This is Van Persie asking his son if he's hustling, if he's grinding. Let me play it for you. It's terrible music that they have to put on it.
He played against Ajax under 40. He was on the bench. He didn't play. In the car on the way back, he was like a bit moody, disappointed, complaining a little bit about others, about the coach, etc. And then I said, you sound like a loser, you know, if you talk like this in a way. I said, you are blaming him, you're blaming her, you're blaming this, you're blaming everything. I said, but I don't hear one single thing about yourself. I said, winners said they take control and they blame themselves and they look where they can improve. You should ask yourself the question, are you a loser or are you a winner? You say that this is your passion, so you should take control of your life and stop complaining. It sounds like a loser. I said, but if you want to be a winner, take control of your life and stop complaining about others.
Which is not terrible advice, but it's just hilarious. I'm just imagining RVP turning to son. He's like, yeah, you kind of sound like a fucking loser right now.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
You know what's funny? You watch Ted Lasso?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay. So
I'm almost... You know those things where like
I
everyone's
feel like I've
like,
asked you this before.
everyone's like watching it, or everyone's like like talked about something. You're almost like now like I'm not watching it. 'Cause,
Yeah.
You know, like it.
So they have a Dutch player on the team, and they play on the trope that Dutch people are like very matter of fact. They talk very
direct.
blunt and honest. That's like what just happened in this. Like it's like yeah, imagine being Dutch. Like you're on your car ride home and with your dad. You're just like you sound like a loser right now.
I don't
You need to
remember raising a
shut up.
bitch.
Like,
I don't.
I think I've seen that before. It's that's it's right. It's right advice. I mean,
It honestly is not.
What better advice to be given than by somebody with such a prolific career? I mean,
I do have to wonder what it's like for your, you know, like you're trying to find your own way, and you're Van Persie's son, so it's like always going to be tough for you no matter what. But like your dad is Van Persie, and he's just like giving you advice, like, well, have you tried just like scoring? Like, see, what I would have done in that situation is I would have taken that 60-yard ball out of the air and just volleyed it first time in the bottom corner. So I don't know why you can't do that, but yeah.
imagine if Ibra was your dad.
Yeah, well, he just got called up, right, to the national team, I think.
I think so. Yeah, he's still playing for Milan, his son. So, did you watch the Piers Morgan interview with Zlatan?
I did not. I out of principle, I don't even. You should say Piers Morgan's name.
It was actually kind of interesting because they got on that topic, and you know, you would think that Ibra would be a very like direct, like no nonsense kind of person when it comes to maybe talking to your son about how he played. But he's like, listen, like it's not my place. I'm the parent, right? I'm not his coach. I tell him, you go and listen to your coach and you go do what he tells you to do and you work hard, right? Because that's how I raised you. I raised you to work hard. And, you know, I'll come and watch the games and we can talk about it, but I'm not gonna beat into you or anything like that.
It's good perspective.
There's another funny thing they talked about how he has a framed photo in one of their rooms in his home of his feet. And he said it's to remind his family why they have everything they have.
You know what?
Because of these.
All right, you know what? Fair.
He's like, I don't have photographs of myself around the house. I don't like it, but I have a picture of my feet up on the wall to remind my family why we are so lucky.
I can't think of a better way to end it than that. We'll talk to you next time when we're wrapping all of it up, and Dom will have a ring on his finger. Till then, enjoy the games this weekend. Enjoy whatever else it is you're getting up to, and we'll see you next time. See you.
Neymar, what do you want to say to Joe Byron right now?